Welcome to Let's Play Gran Turismo 2, episode 24. Alright, so as you can see there, I do now have an additional 20 grand compared of course to what I had from the previous segment, and the reason for that was notably because, well, I did the third race of the Pure Sports Car Cup again, twice. And notably overall, of course, this should officially give me sufficient enough funding for the next event. So, I did race 3 of the Pure Sports Car Cup again, because I figured, obviously, I was needing the money, and instead of actually selling my cars, which is probably what I should have done, I just decided I was going to do the event again. And I must admit, that is a reasonable selling value. I swear to God. That is a reasonable selling value, 125 grand. That is quite reasonable for how much I can sell one of those things for. And obviously, I'm gonna keep the top one because, well, obviously, I will need that for an event later on, which will essentially be for the one-make events, but you know. So, now of course, we can get down to business. We can get down to business. So, I had a look through to see what cars were available with racing mods, and I eventually decided in the end that, well, since up to this point I've already purchased myself enough new cars, I eventually decided I was just going to use this, my Tom's Chaser TRD Sports X30. So heading over to East City, I had a look through to see what cars were and weren't available with the racing modifications, and this is essentially the car I decided to use. And that is precisely what I'm going to use. Because if you look at this racing modification, that is awesome, BTW. And now of course, I'm going to display to you how exactly you can do weight reduction. So, we're going to have to do all 3 stages of weight reduction before we do this, because obviously this is officially the only way we can install the racing mods, and of course that is precisely what I'm going to put on here. And well, unfortunately it's only available in one colour, so obviously this is the only one I can go for. And yes, I really do like that racing mod. That fucking thing is awesome. Oh, yeah, so stage 1 turbo kit. Since I did have a look at my opponents, and well, there weren't really too much of a challenge power wise, and well, I believe it's possible of course the driver, which is me, will hopefully be competent enough to win all 5 races on his first attempt. And just going to put on the medium tyres, you know, just because I want to make this a little bit more of a challenge. Also because I have a feeling my car is probably OP compared to these AI, but you know. Let's head over to the race events. So, almost complete with page 1 of course, also page 2 in fact, and page 3, and we will head over to our 4th page to do this, the Super Touring Trophy. So, 5 races here of course, as we've got Apricot Hill, Trial Mountain, Laguna Seca, Deep Forest and Rome for our final race. And also, I should also note, this is officially the first time that we have actually raced at Apricot Hill in this game. if I'm being completely honest. At least, I believe this is the first time I've actually raced here. BTW. But yeah, let's get through this and see how we go. As I just switched to analog mode right at the last minute. But anyway, let us get through this. Hopefully without being disturbed. Also, furthermore, I should probably note, this is not my first attempt of recording this, because, well, first attempt I tried to do this, well, I failed, and yeah, that's all I can say. I'll explain the rest probably after this one, but anyways. I'm already up to second through the first sequence of corners, and already it has to be the Accord that is basically attempting to force me to the outside, but I'm not having it. But anyways, on the back stretch, as I am basically just on the inside of the Toyota Active, which is currently leading this race. So yeah, like I said, this is officially the first time I'm actually racing at Apricot Hill in this game. Because I mean, even though this circuit has definitely featured in the license centre, essentially overall this is officially the first time I'm actually racing at Apricot Hill in this game. So, led the first lap, currently going well. I haven't fucked up yet, and I'm almost guaranteed to say I will probably do that at some point. I can very much guarantee that's going to happen sooner or later. Probably because of how shit my hands are, but yeah. So we are going well at the moment, as I am leading up to the end of lap 2. The third sector. Alright. So, yeah. I think we probably will win the race one, unless I spin, which has happened before, and it could happen again. But anyways, on our third and final lap of this race, as this of course will probably also be where I will also clip my thumbnail as well. Just edging away at the moment. At least it looks like I'm edging away at the moment. In my chaser. And it looks like it's gonna be victory in race number 1. as I'm on the main straight, and indeed it is. I win race 1. Also, I should probably mention pretty much all the cars in this cup are basically racing modded, and wow, I won that race in the end by 5 seconds over the Civic. Fucking hell. So we also had a Peugeot 406 sedan in this race, along with a Toyota Exib, a Honda Accord, and a Toyota Chaser was at the back. Even though obviously I had the Tom's Chaser. So 15 grand for winning, and I would say that is a reasonable value, but yeah. And also gonna save the replay, considering this isn't officially my first attempt at doing this, because well, since I actually have more time now, essentially overall, I just decided it was better for me to get on with the recording now, so then obviously, and hopefully, I will not be disturbed. Even though essentially overall, I will probably be disturbed more often than I think. But anyways, let's head to race 2. As I should probably also mention, pretty much all of the AI in this championship, you know, essentially in the Super Touring Trophy in particular, are basically racing modded with liveries of either the BTCC or the JTCC. So they're essentially cars from both the British Touring Car Championships and the British Touring Car Championship and the Japanese Touring Car Championship. Which is essentially why I am mostly racing against sedans, but anyway. Here is race 2. As we have a Nissan Primera in this race. I think that was like the championship winning livery from what I can remember. I mean, I know Nissan won the BTCC one time, and I believe the driver was Ricard Rydell. Well, maybe I'm just being stupid, but essentially overall it is what I think. As we also have our Reverend Toyota Chaser in this event. As I, of course, I'm already closing in on the Exib. And officially going up into the lead. Whilst I know my fucking throat is just drying up at the moment because of how much commentary I'm doing, or attempting to do. Around the outside side, the curb was there to save me, and at the moment we've essentially got both chasers on the podium. Both myself and the Toyota Chaser at the moment are on the podium. Even though I would probably imagine that since this one was probably a tuned Toyota Chaser, I would have probably imagined this one to be more likely a candidate for the GT300 class than I would have done the BTCC or the JTCC, I should say. But anyway. I am now through the third tunnel onto the uphill straight, through the trees. moments I actually don't know what the fuck I'm saying or attempting to say, but you know. Just trying to roll with it. As that extremely wide curb once again saves me on the exit of the 4th hairpin. But anyways, here we go. Final lap. Through the first chicane, and I have managed to keep it on track this time. Considering I'm deeply hoping I do not spin the thing again, like I did first time I tried to record this. But anyway. Everything at the moment relatively smooth, as I am currently pulling away from these AI at the present time. Well, they're keeping up with me, it must be said. They aren't too far behind me, in my honest opinion. And, yep, okay, that's a rock. And fortunately for me at least, I remembered to not floor it as soon as I started spinning. But essentially overall, yeah, these AI are keeping up with me, as I just had not a very good 3rd lap, but yeah, they kept up with me, they really did. So it was eventually the Active that managed to take 2nd, ahead of the first of the 2 Nissan Primeras, obviously the older one, was in 3rd. Then it was the 2nd of the 2 Toyota Chasers in 4th, mine of course obviously being the Victor. And then it was the other Nissan Primera in 5th, and the only Honda Accord in this race was last. So they kept up with me okay, even though obviously I did have a rather terrible 3rd lap in my honest opinion. But anyways, 15 grand for winning, and that is a reasonable amount, at least up to this point in the game it is. 2 down, 3 to go. As we are now going to Laguna Seca. And at the moment, of course, I am pretty much, you know, just fucking waltzing away with this thing at the moment. Because I had 2 relatively easy wins in the end. And all I really need to do now is see if I can do the same for the remaining 3 races. As I'm just sipping my water. And we have a Civic in this race. And we also have the elder of the 2 Accords we saw in the previous race in this one. As I now maneuver my way up into 3rd. And I am now officially up into 2nd. So, and that Primera is definitely looking for a manoeuvre somewhere, as he is currently tailgating. And it also looks like the chaser is trying to get up into the fight as well, as I just managed to get through corkscrew. And 6/10 at the moment behind the Civic. Looks like everything at the present time is going more or less as I expected it to be. Considering I basically won the 2 previous races in rather dominant fashion, in my honest opinion. Considering I did win the first one by about 5 seconds. And essentially overall, I think that is a bit OP, but oddly enough, I think for Laguna Seca, that's actually not proving to be the case, because at the moment, that Civic is doing well. He's doing well. He is keeping me busy, as we are now approaching the corkscrew now for the 2nd time, underneath the Pennzoil banners, and managing to keep the thing under control, preventing the rear end from slipping, as I now take the lead, just on the exit of corkscrew. I am now up into the lead, and also defending my inside line, and that Civic has run very wide, but somehow he did not spin, as I of course am notably trying to see if I can get a draft with the Civic. But still, the AI are keeping up with us relatively closely as I go under the Firestone Bridge. And just about to enter the uphill section for the 3rd and final time. And yep, that Civic is definitely quick in this race, if I'm being completely honest. He's definitely challenging me. As I'm going through corkscrew in 3rd gear, just so I don't lose the back end. And thankfully on this occasion, I did not. Because it is so easy to spin on the exit of corkscrew. But fortunately for me at least, I did not, anyways. Entering the final corner, should have enough of an interval to the Civic, and indeed I do. And it is going to be race W number 3 on my first attempt. Still, must be said, that was a close race. And in the end, the margin, 1.3 seconds. Over the Civic, then it was the Primera 3rd, Chaser 4th, the Exiv in 5th, and then it was the Accord in last. As the gap itself just less than about 4.5 seconds from 1st to 6th, which is also last. And another 15 grand, as we are now up to 200 grand. Earnings. And already got a replay saved, so don't think I need one from Laguna Seca. Now we get to move on to page 2 and to our 4th race of the Super Touring Trophy. Deep Forest. we're not just racing in any forest, we're racing in deep forest. So, let's go! Dependent on knowing how terrible this will probably be. The Peugeot has returned to this race. I think we also have a Megane in this field as well. At least if I'm not being mistaken. And it looks like we have the second... sorry. And it looks like we have the younger Primera in this race. And indeed we do have a Renault Laguna in this race. Corresponding to the car I thought it was. But anyways, already up into second. As I of course am probably behind the senior Primera, I think. And indeed it is the senior Nissan Primera that currently leads this thing. And we just made contact. But at the very least, I am on the outside, he has the inside. And on the inside now, as I now take the lead. And well, the reason why I'm not taking off the turbo upgrades is essentially because, well, I'm lazy. I'm lazy, and even though 2 out of 3 of these races have essentially been made easy, I'm basically just, you know, a lazy shit. So, you know. I just cannot be bothered to take them off. Considering, I would imagine they probably will close in on me again. Because as you may have seen at Laguna Seca, the AI did manage to keep up with me, and I think they're doing the same thing here as well. They're definitely not falling behind, in my honest opinion. And I'm running very wide there, as I once again managed to prevent the car from spinning. And hopefully if it is possible, that will be the only time that I officially get close enough to potentially putting myself in a spin. But anyways, final lap. So just waltzing away at the moment with this thing. Even though the Primera is still in the distance, he's still there, he's keeping up with me. But the rest I'm not so sure about. Even though they are having their own tussle, especially overall, I think at this point it's only really the Primera that's currently keeping up with me. But as for the rest, I'm really not sure. You know, just figured I'd be factual. And coming across the line, it is 4 out of 4 to the Chaser. Or at least 4 out of 4 to the Tom's Chaser. And indeed it was the senior Primera that was keeping up with us. So Renault Laguna was 3rd, then it was the Vectra in 4th, followed by the Peugeot 406, and last it was the younger Primera. still, the gap between second and third, a bit wide. Even though I did win by over 3 seconds. And that is a reasonable amount. 15 grand, you know, just from winning these races. That is very nice, in my honest opinion. Excuse me. As we now move on to our 5th and final race of the Super Touring Trophy, we are going to Rome. The land of the Romans. Also the Colosseum. And it looks like we'll probably have 2 Primeras in this one. At least I think it's 2 Primeras. We also have one Accord with a 406, and whoever is at the front I cannot tell at the moment. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's an Accord, by the way. And it's another Primera. So pretty much a third of this field. Bearing in mind there are only 6 cars in this field, but a third of the field is essentially Nissan Primeras, and both of them are notably the senior models. And obviously not the BTCC models. Because I think, as far as I can remember, it was probably 98 that I think Nissan had officially won the BTCC with the Primera. I know they did emerge victorious in the BTCC with the Primera. I do know that, but I couldn't tell you the year. I think it was probably 98 that did that. And of course, if anyone does know if I'm being correct or not, then you can always inform me in the comments. Even though obviously hardly anyone leaves me comments about info, but anyway. On the second lap, as we are going through the Colosseum section, and these Primeras at the moment, they are keeping up with me relatively well, and this is probably a terrible second lap. And now we have the Peugeot up into third, ahead of the second of the 2 Primeras. And that's a wall. And that's a wall. So, we're closely bunched up at the moment. So they are keeping up with me, even though obviously this was essentially a terrible second lap, but anyway. Through the final corner onto the third and final lap of this race. And that's more. But somehow it did not slow me down as much as I thought it was going to. So, they're not letting me run away with this one. They are keeping up with me at the moment, regardless of knowing how this entire cup has basically just been a clean sweep, and it's looking like this one will very much be a perfect example of that clean sweep. But anyways, on the back stretch now, it looks like it is going to be another easy W for me and my chaser. We go through the final corner to a somewhat better third lap, and we of course have won again. So, a clean sweep in the Super Touring Trophy, and just as I suspected, I probably should have known it was the two Primeras that would take second and third. Then it was the 406 in fourth, and at the back we had the two Accords. But anyway, so there we go. As I won my 3 seconds, and another 15 grand for winning. And since this was also the final race, obviously I'm going to save. Just saving the game. There it is. And now of course, let's move on to our prize cars. Considering obviously I would probably imagine I'll get a reasonable amount of money, but anyways, there we go. The Super Touring Trophy is now complete. That's our first event on page 4. So now of course we are going to check out our prize cars. Also, holy shit, it is mostly, we basically get 5 Supras as a result of winning this. So this is our prize car from race 1, a TRD 3000 GT, and as far as I know, I think this was also the car that we won from the A license in GT1, as far as I can work out. Unless I'm stupid, but I think this was the car I won from the A license. But, well, apart from that, and this is the other prize car we get. A Tom's Supra. This is a nice thing I see here. Yeah. Still, check out that ass. I really do like that rear bumper, I really do. I also like the wing as well. But well, as for the others, I'm basically just going to sell those because, well, I've already got one of these, and obviously I certainly don't need 2 or 3 of them, as I'm just basically selling the rest of them. So those were the 2 prize cars that we won from races 3 and 4. They were both TRD 3000 GTs, and this is the prize car we won from race 5. The Tom's Supra. And also, furthermore, I now have over 270 grand. But anyways, now we can check out our progress, as we are now officially a quarter of the way there with with this game. 25.57% complete, finally, and it's only taken me less than a month to do so. So, that was the Super Touring Trophy. Next up is the GT Euro League. So with that, stay tuned for more GT2.